Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to the Heffy Doodle YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making a fun light up card using several of my current favorite products from Heffy Doodle, so join me. I'm going to start out by die cutting my panels that I need to ink blend for my background. I am using the stitched rounded metric rectangles. The largest one I die cut from a piece of cardstock that measures 5 by 7, and that rounded piece I'm going to ink blend with salvaged patina around the outer edge, just really lightly. Most of this is going to be covered up by the other elements on this card. I squished the stamp pad down onto a piece of window sheet, and I'm using a wet paintbrush to splatter that onto the background. This tone-on-tone splatter is going to dry back very subtle, and I really like the added texture and dimension it gives to the background. So I'm going to die cut this same die one more time and use that as my layering pieces. So now I have the stitched slimline borders. I'm doing this wavy piece for the water, and then this piece obviously for the grass. And when I'm done, I'm going to ink blend that water piece with chipped sapphire, and then I'm going to splatter this with water and with a little bit of ink as well. I'm going to do the splattering on all the pieces, but this particular one I also sprayed with water, so it's going to have some lighter areas and some darker areas. And again, that splatter is tone on tone, so it will dry back pretty light and be a lot more subtle than what you see right here. For the grass, I am using Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide ink. It's so small, I'm not going to do the water splatter, but I will do the tone on tone splatter. And again, it gives it that little extra something special that it needs. All right, so this piece here was the extra piece from the middle of my the panel I die cut the water and the grass from, so I thought I'd be resourceful and die cut out one of these stones. This is from the Stitched Stones set. I think this is the largest stone in there. Now the splatter tone on tone was a little too subtle, so I used black soot for that one. Then I realized I wanted to use the edge of this. It's still stitched because those dies stitch on both sides, and then I could have a 2-layered lake like that. I did not splatter that one at all because it's so little of it that shows. Now this is a scrap from the piece of cardstock that I cut my 2 5 by 7 rectangles from, and I used just the subtle wave on that one, and it's going to be a hillside. And now I want to figure out how I want my hillside, if everything's going to fit. Is it all going to work? Is it going to arrange appropriately with the images I want to use before I do any more ink blending or cutting on that particular hill piece? And so I just pulled out all the stamps I want to use. I'm using Lil Lighthouse and the what is it called? Highland Honeys stamp set. That's where this little Loch Ness monster is from. He is adorable. There's also a baby one, so you can really have some fun with that set. There's also like a Highland cow with like the really furry head. Such a cute stamp set, plus all the little extras in that set are adorable, like these mountains and trees. Okay, so I did the hillside the same as I did the rock. I thought I would go ahead and try again with the hickory smoke splatter, but it was too light, so I did black soot on that one as well. So now I'm stamping out all those images that I had picked out, and it is time to color. By the way, I am using the Heffy Doodle Copic coloring cardstock. It is specifically designed for alcohol marker coloring, not just Copics, and it works so well. It's a thinner cardstock, and that just really helps the markers blend easily, so I really appreciate and enjoy using this cardstock. Also, the cardstock I used for all my ink blending is the Heffy Doodle white cardstock. It is so thick, and it is the smoothest paper I have ever touched. I love it for ink blending. I love it also for hot foiling if you're a hot foiling person. Great cardstock for that. All right, so I'm using some bee markers for my lighthouse on those stripes, but on the other stripes I'm just using C2 to add a little bit of shadowing, and then I'm going to add some fun red to this by coloring the door with R29 and R17 for a little bit of a highlight. On the trees I'm using G29 as my darkest color and then softening that out with G28 for the lighter areas of the trees. And I love that there's two sizes of trees in here and they're small, so you can put them right next to those mountains, and there's a little bit of, you know, the appropriate sizing that they should be. So now for the mountains, I'm starting with C6 as my darkest color, and I'm just coloring kind of in a little circular motion. That's the way I color most of my things. I really like bullet nibs on my markers. I use those the most. So when I have a bullet nib marker, I'm going to be coloring in these little circles. It's just, I guess, my style. So I'm working my way all the way down to C0. So I did C6, C4, C2, and now C0. And that's where I'm going to get that kind of whitish area on these mountains. And I love that look so much. All right, on to Nessie, as I'm calling her or him. I am starting with G03 as my darkest color there at the bottom. I researched what color I should color this, and I think there's plenty of options from a dark blue to green to gray to black. So just whatever works with your scene, you can color out your little Nessie. I think it is so cute with the three little spots there. I even added a little more stippling there on the neck to add some texture. Now I am bringing in a white Jelly Roll pen and adding some white highlights to all the things because I love that look. I love the highlights on things. It really helps bring a little bit more interest and dimension and shine. So I'll add that to all of my stamped images before die cutting them out. It's also great for erasing any mistakes where you might have went outside the line, just color it over it with your white gel pen. All right, so all of these images have coordinating dies, so I'm going to die cut those out using my mini die cut machine from Heffy Doodle. I love it. It fits right on my desktop, no matter how messy my desk is. There they are, all die cut out and ready to go. So now it's time to start scene building. So I have my water onto my background with my sky. I didn't glue the top part of it down so I could nestle in the second row of waves, and then my hill, and then my little island, which is this large rock, I'm going to put my lighthouse onto, and it will fit right on there, just on there. Now, one of the dies in this set is super cool. Look what it does. It makes like the radiating light coming out from it. So I poked a hole in the lighthouse and then covered the hole with a piece of vellum on the back. And then I'm also putting a hole where that lighthouse can line up with it, because that die that creates the radiating light kind of presses the shape of the top of the lighthouse into it. So I was able to easily poke the hole, and then I held it up to the light when I glued it down so I could make sure those holes lined up. Now I can glue on my mountains and my trees and have my little Nessie jump right into that lake of water. Is it a lake or a sea? I should have looked that up too. Now I'm bringing in my easy lights. These are from Pear Blossom Press. Words are hard sometimes. Yeah. So I have the battery now I'm putting into the back, just lining up the plus symbols, and then they light up so perfectly. And these are LED lights, so they're not going to get hot. All the electronic sciencey part has been done for you, which I so appreciate. I can just tape these down. There's a little yellow square at the end of these wires, and that's the light. So I put the square face down on the back of the lighthouse, but where the light radiates out, I put the square actually facing me and taped it down. So it wasn't too harsh of a light when you press the button. And then you just need to tape down your battery pack, tape down the excess wire, and you're ready to go. And then all the person has to do is push the button. So I'm creating two rocks where I'm stamping push on one and putting those in the grass. And then there's a little area to indicate what to do on this card so they know it's interactive. Push the button, and then look at that. The lighthouse lights up. It makes me so happy. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and now we're going to do some stenciling with the Highlander Stencil. Isn't it amazing? I love it. So I am using some Rustic Wilderness to add green to this background. So this is normally like the piece I would just toss, but I wanted to make an A7 size card. So that's 5 inches by 7 inches. And I thought it would be really cool to stencil the background. And this stencil is super easy to line up. So once I had cleaned everything off, I scooted that stencil over, lined up the stencil with what I had already stenciled, and I was able to go again with the help of a ton of tape. And then I just added some more Rustic Wilderness to the other side to finish it off. I really, really wanted to add some blue into this background, and I just thought about it and thought about it, and finally I decided I would bring out my Heffy tape and create a mask and add my chipped sapphire ink into this masked off area. I'm trying to use the lines on the stenciled background to get the right angle on here, and then just stencil right over the top with chipped sapphire because it is the darker color. I was super nervous, but it worked out. And if it didn't, remember I die cut too? I could have started over. So the one thing is, I kind of missed one spot I should have added a stripe to, and they're not like perfectly perfect, but guess what? This card is handmade, so it's totally fine. I love how it actually came out, and you can see here, I should have done one more on that right-hand side, but that area kind of confused me. I wasn't sure how to line it up. So yeah, sometimes it's easy to confuse me. So I left it. It'll be okay. I'm gluing this down to my A7 size card. So it's 10 inches by 7 inches, and I scored it at 5 inches. And then I am adding some Heffy Doodle foam tape to the back because it is double thickness. And so it's as thick as that battery pack, which is important. Otherwise you have to double up your foam tape, and then it will stick well because you don't want that battery pack to be thicker than your foam tape. So that's glued in place, and I'm stamping out a sentiment that says, "Sending you a little happy-ness." So cute. I decided I needed another pop of red, so I pulled out some red cardstock. I'm going to stamp this with Versamark ink, and then I will set to embossing it with some white powder so it really pops off of that red paper. And then all I need to do is cut this with that rounded rectangle. So it's going to have the same stitching, and it can go right up on the edge of that rounded rectangle, and everything has that stitched edge from the hill to the water to the sentiment to the grass, which is, I like those little details. Love is in the details. So that finishes up my card. I have this fun light up lighthouse, which is another layer of happiness in this card, right? So I am excited to be able to send this to somebody and brighten their day. And I want to say thank you to you for stopping by and checking out this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and feel inspired, and maybe try a light up card. I think you'll like it, especially with these easy lights. Also available at the Heffy Doodle shop. I will have it all linked for you below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon. Happy stamping. Bye.